Folks, it is another Top 5 Tuesday, the last of the Top 5 Tuesdays. We made it through the summer together, folks. Choose Carefully on YouTube. This is a big one for you. Luis Martinez is here in the house for this one. We're going to be doing the Top 5. We got 3 Top 5s in this one. That's how you do a finale, folks. 3 Top 5s regarding fantasy football. Everything that you're going to need to know from the fantasy burrito himself. So let's not even beat around the bush. Let's get to the imaging and get on with the show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This is the 323's Top 5.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
Yeah, again and again.
Oh, shit, folks. Welcome to the 323. I'm your host, Reid Murphy, like I was saying, joined by the one and only, the West Coaster himself, the home run chancla man, Luis Martinez, the Big Chief Burrito. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
You know, out here, as proverbially I say, not loving them hoes, doing my thing, doing tattoos, piercings, and making movies now, so
there we
having
go.
fun.
Hey, congrats. And like you see on the People Can See, if you subscribe to the 323 Network YouTube page or follow us wherever you get your podcast, you can see right on the ticker, it comes around. You can see Luis's movie. You can see his work. Blacklist, it's on Prime Video. Go check him out and support him in everything that you do, like you support us in everything we do. We appreciate you always, people. And yeah, Luis, it's good to see you right here at the end of the summer. We were just bonding over how our cities, our major cities near us are falling under wild federal control. Shout out to my zoo hat. I went to the zoo the right week. I went 2 weeks ago to the National Zoo and didn't get arrested by the National Guard or anything. So we're all good. We're safe right here. We're safe with fantasy football. So what are you gonna do for the folks tonight? What kind of list are we doing? Because I'm turning it over to you. You're our expert.
All right. Well, like you said, the fantasy football is happening, and there's a lot of information out there that you need. Also, sometimes there's too much information, so you don't need to read like a 500-page article to let you know that if you get the number 1 pick, you should probably take Jamar Chase, or that the number 2 pick is between whoever you prefer, between Bijan and Saquon, and so that stuff is immaterial. But what I'm going to do is give you a couple of top 5 lists, and we're going to stop with the top 5 fantasy draft tips because you don't typically, what does they say? You don't typically win your league during a draft, but you can lose it if you fuck up royally and if you fuck up your opportunities. So here are my 5. Yeah, here are my top 5 fantasy draft tips for this year. All right, so number 5, I want to tell you that my number 5 pick this year is to wait on a QB. All right, you're gonna come around and you're gonna see that you took your first player. Maybe you took a Bijan, or maybe you took a CD Lamb or somebody like that as your number 1 wide receiver, and it's coming in the 2nd or 3rd round as your first wide receiver, and it's coming around 2nd or 3rd round, and you see Lamar Jackson sitting there, Allen sitting there, and you're like, should I do it? Should I do it? Should I just lock down a top 2 fantasy quarterback? And the answer is no. The answer is always no. You wait for QB this year, because after Lamar Jackson and Allen are gone and you get down to Joe Burrow, there are so many quarterbacks that could come out of nowhere. Look at Jaden Daniel last year. Look at, all these other quarterbacks that are drafted in rounds 10 and up or round 7 and up. So unless it's like a 3rd, 4th round deal and, for some reason everybody else is going 2 RB or 2 running backs and a wide receiver, and you are lower on tiers, I say stay away from quarterbacks in the top 5 rounds this year.
I agree.
Number 2, and this is very important because all of these go with each other. Start the run and mind the tiers is my number 4 tip. if you see that you're in the middle rounds and two teams ahead of you suddenly start taking tight ends and you're up next, do not take a tight end. The run is, if you see 3 or 4 tight ends just got taken ahead of you and you're like trying to decide between these last 2 tight ends, then just wait on tight end. There's a tight end whose name you don't know that's starting for a team and they're going to not go drafted. If you don't get the tight ends in the tier that you want, let them go. Same thing with like lower tier wide receivers. And when I talk about tiers, it's very important when you're drafting to think about tiers. For example, I will give you the tight end tier. The tight end tier goes like this: Trey McBride, Brock Bowers. That is tier 1. Some people will put Greg Kittle in tier 1. I am not putting Greg Kittle in tier 1. I'm putting Kittle in its own second tier. So if you don't get one of those top 3 tight ends, then the rest of the tight ends, the next tier is humongous, And if you see that run going, there are very similar tight ends that will give you the same production that a Njoku will give you, that a Mark Andrews will give you, that all these Sam Laporta will give you. There are a bunch of those. One of those might go off, but there are a ton of tight ends in that frame. The same thing with wide receivers. Once you lower a tier, and if you're reaching for that next tier, go to another tier. That's when you can say, oh, okay, I don't have my quarterback yet. There's still some second tier quarterbacks available, or a second tier, third tier running back, as opposed to getting caught in those runs. So pay attention and mind your tiers is my next tip.
Now, with the tight ends real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because just like a little subs as we're trying to educate people. You brought up Trey McBride as like one of the top tier guys. Now, if you look at his stats from last year, people looking, right off the base, you see like 4 touchdowns. There you have a lot of people who are new to fantasy, and they want to see a bunch of touchdowns. They want to see, whatever impressive. And when you have somebody with 4 touchdowns, but they're a top tier tight end, how do you explain that to, anybody new coming into fantasy?
Sucky quarterbacks. I mean, Trey McBride, imagine if he had some competent quarterback play, right? I think you got to look at, that's when you start getting into the weeds of the type of offense, good teams versus bad teams. It's better to have a good running back on a good team, even if they're less talented, than a great running back on a bad team, because they're going to, teams are in ahead, run the ball more. The same thing with tight ends. Is it a run-heavy team where the tight end is so good that they're also doing a lot of running plays, et cetera, et cetera? Trey McBride was a weird. I mean, they were like basically the last 4 games of the season. Like, we got to get this dude a touchdown, right? And Brock Bowers was just a natural right off the go. So I think that's another like kind of bonus tip, which is you got to make sure that you're aware of your league settings. And, you can tweak league settings so you get points for like first down catches. Is it a possession team, for yards, for all these other things? So that's when you have to kind of craft a draft strategy that's specific to the league that you're drafting for.
Good tip.
And then just to give you an example of what I'm talking about, the average draft position for somebody like Brock Bowers and Trey McBride is 20th or 21st. So it means you're going to have to use your second round pick if you're picking at the end of the second round to take one of those 2, which means you probably took somebody, like I said, like a Jahmyr Gibbs or a CeeDee Lamb with your first pick. So you got lucky enough to get a top 5 pick, and you got Justin Jefferson, Saquon Barkley, somebody like that, CeeDee Lamb, and then you're getting to your second pick, and then you're going to have to decide between a Brock Bowers and a Trey McBride and start the tight end run, or you're going to have to choose between maybe doubling up on wide receiver, getting a Ladd McConkey or a T. Higgins. And then there's some other people that I would fade, like Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams. And then after that is when you start seeing Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson come off the board. So the next tight end that gets taken is probably not going to be until you see, Greg Kittle go off the board. George Pickens, you can get a lot of value later in the rounds if you don't start those runs. All right. And then this goes hand in hand with that, which is pay attention to the people picking around you.
Pay attention. Always pay attention. Pay attention to the soundboard.
And it's super important when you are at the back in the middle of the round. If yours picks 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it's like whatever. You're sort of casually taking advantage of it. But if you're picking at the turn at 9, 10, 11, 12, it is very important that you look at who's drafting around you and what they have. This is more important in the middle to late round. So if you're coming on to round like 5 or 6, and you are going to be in a decision between like taking, because you waited on tight end. So you're taking, you want to know whether you should take like Sam Laporta, or if you should take like Roma Dunze, right? They're both drafted around the same time. So you're like, all right, maybe I'll take my tight end right here. But then you notice that the team around you only has one wide receiver, right? Or they all have tight ends. They all already have tight ends. You're picking in the 8th, the 9th team, the 11th team, and the 12th team already have tight ends, right? And you have to try to decide between Roma Dunze and Sam Laporta. And so you're like, well, you're right there. You take a position that you don't have. You take Roma Dunze because you know that they're not taking him as a tight end, and therefore you have a better wide receiver. They are not going to take a tight end, and then when it comes back around to you, you can take Laporta and you get both of the players that you wanted. So that's a place that could absolutely, if you fuck up right there and you take Sam Laporta, you're basically wasting 6 spots in ADP because one of those teams is going to take Roma Dunze, and then you're going to have to decide between like Caleb Johnson, another wide receiver that goes by Jacoby Myers, as your wide receiver 2 or 3, Chris Olave, right? So that's a tier break and a position where you have to be cognizant of what's happening around you, so you don't. But like I said, back to the tight end thing, Sam Laporta is going at 61, and then you have like a TJ Hawkinson at 69. So if you have those two in mind and only one of the teams in front of you needs a tight end, then you're like, they're kind of even in my book. I'm not going to take my tight end. I'm going to take my wide receiver because the other wide receivers are shitty. And then somebody's going to take one or the other, and whichever one they don't take, I'm happy with. And that's kind of how you can build a strategy around the turn based on what other people around you already got.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And then the last thing is act quickly. This is just a pet peeve of mine. You need to start thinking about your fucking pick before it's time for you to pick.
That's so good.
What the fuck is wrong with you? There, you have a lot of time there. You should have a list, right? It's so easy. You have 3 picks to go. Think of 4 players. You have 2 picks to go. Think of 3 players. All you need is 3 players. If you're up in 2 picks, fuck. All right, I really want. If you're focused at, if you're just sitting there and you're scared because you're just 100% focused on like Ladd McConkey. I want Ladd McConkey. All right, and you're up next, and then the team ahead of you takes Ladd McConkey. You're like, oh, fuck, right? No, if you're at pick 24 and up next, you see that Ladd McConkey, T. Higgins, and Tyreek Hill are up, and you're up in 4 picks, and you're like, fuck, I don't want Ladd. I need a wide receiver. McConkey, T. Higgins are fine, and then Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are there. So in your mind, you're like, all right, if McConkey's still there, I'm taking him. If not, and I still want the receivers, I got T. Higgins. If not, I have to consider taking a quarterback. You should have this in mind as you're drafting. Then when you get up to the clock, boom, you already make a decision. Not only does this make the flow better, but it's a disadvantage to your opponent that's next. Because if the next person that drafts after you is also not going to do anything until they're on the clock, then guess what? You move faster, they're on the clock faster. And now and if they're ill prepared, then they're going to be rushed because they're like, oh, I'm up in 2 minutes. All right, Lou's going to take his stuff. Fuck, you already picked? What? He already picked his player? Oh, fuck. All right. What do I need? I need a running back. I need a quarter. Oh, okay. Who's that? He took the guy I wanted. So always, if you're next, have 2 people in mind. Start there. When you're next, you should have 2 people in mind all the time. I'm either going to take this guy or that guy. And then you should already have an idea because you should be looking at that person's team and you're like, yeah, I did a live stream last year of one of my drafts and like 75% of the time I was like, he's going to take this person and he would take them. because it's very easy if you look at somebody's team, you're like, you can really, especially if you've played with people, you can really figure out what they're going to do. And I was saying stuff like, hey, you're going to take one of the 2 worky wide receivers, hurry up. And they were telling me in the chat, like, yeah, I am, you know. So, act quickly, both as a way of as a draft etiquette, and also to make it tougher for your other opponents.
Yep. That's why our league, the Space Force Fantasy League, we do, no auto drafting, because I hate that shit. Hate auto drafting. But I got my big board. Have a big board. I got my top 50. So I'm just going best player available. I'm that GM. I'm the Bruce Allen type. Not Bruce Allen. That's a terrible GM.
I want my picks back. Give me back my son.
That's a good start. Fantasy tips to know. People take advantage of that. I already know that some of our contributors, some of the the consultants to the show, Angela is going to be like studying this. Jeremiah is going to be studying this. People have been we in our own league that Luis is also in. For those that don't know, Scott and Zoo and I would just immediately steal all of Luis's advice every week. It's the best thing.
Reid, this is why I'm just giving you fair warning. On my next 2 lists, one of them is fake.
Oh.
Because I'm fucking tired of you guys taking my fucking advice and using it against me. Lou, what's your pickups for the week?
What's your pick? What's your picks for the week? What do you got? What is your fantasy advice for the week? Nobody's responding because everybody's just fucking picking up players.
Everybody there. So one of these, I threw him in there as a false flag. It may be a little bit, but I'm not super confident about this player. Okay, so I'm just giving you one of them is just as a grenade in case you guys are using it against me. there is a turd in each of these punch bowls. Let's put it that way.
All right, what's the next punch bowl?
All right, so the next punch bowl is going to be my top 5 targets. I have top 5 wide receivers, and I have my top 5 running backs.
Okay,
that's because for tight ends, it's super easy. It's McBride and Bowers as a tier, Kittle next, and then you got your Sam Laportas and et cetera after that.
All right. That's fair.
All right, so my number 5 target is going to be Ashton Genty.
Ooh.
I love me some rookie running backs. You always want to go rookie running backs and second-year wide receivers. I think Geno is going to have a hard time of it in Vegas this year. And I think that the kid's small, but they didn't draft him that high. They really kind of see him as a Bijan. And I think that they're going to use him a lot. So I think it's worth getting him. I'd rather wait on him than maybe reach for Saquon in some instances, and maybe even some other running backs. But I do think that he's worth a first-round pick.
Okay. Right. I don't think that's the grenade yet, but yeah.
Right there. You're gonna see. So let's go with another rookie running back, Marion Hampton. That's definitely more. That's pretty evidently out there. Although Trayvon Henderson from the Patriots as well is getting a little bit of love. Those are 3 rookie running backs that really could see a lot of movement early on. Omarion because of injury, Najee Harris, and because he's a beast. So everybody's pretty much heard about this, but yeah, it's an obvious good running back that you can get. If you get him as your number 2, if you go running back, that would be excellent in my opinion.
Especially in that Greg Roman offense, that high rushing kind of offense out there in LA. Yeah,
absolutely. We're gonna go with Chubba Hubba for number 3. Doug, I want to hate on this guy, but the numbers don't lie. He started putting up numbers. They signed somebody else to the contract. They signed a rookie, and somehow he's still getting his. And they showed a little bit of signs of life last couple of games of the season. They have a shit schedule. There's really nobody else to give the ball to. So if they can show a little bit of life in the QB game, or at least equal and maybe one baby step forward, you could do worse at your flex than Chuba Hubbard, running him out there every week. I wouldn't necessarily go as one of my top 2 starters, but I think that as a flex player, don't be afraid to draft them if it's the mid to early rounds, especially if there's another tier drop to like lower level running backs or like backups. And
even if that's the grenade, like that is the kind of player though. Like it's not a sexy name. It's not a, Chuba's not a player they put on like the NFL posters or anything. No. But when it comes to fantasy, it's very hard to deny that the dude puts up his yards, he puts up his stats, and like you said, there's nobody else to take those snaps from him on that team.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to give you one other player as my number 2 pick that fits that working man, non-flashy mentality, and that's James Conner. Absolutely. Somebody that just gets theirs consistently. And if you take a look at the early part of the Cardinals' schedule, it is set up for success for them, with teams focusing on Trey McBride and maybe with a little baby step up in their quarterback game. James Conner is somebody that you can take early and that you don't even. It's a set it and forget it, lineup, because he's not a sexy name, but you're going to put him out there and they're going to give you consistent points. So
wild how the Cardinals can be like fantasy impact players, and you just don't think of Arizona whatsoever any other time.
Yeah, then they have the climate going for them out there, and I don't know. It's a lot of you could have a top 5 player at each of the skill positions, except maybe for quarterback, because Marvin Harrison could definitely get the top 5 wide receivers, and Connor and McBride could be top 5 at tight end and running back for sure. So. And they have a pretty good schedule early on. So if you want to get out to a good start, sometimes you can reach for a better schedule, and then sort of adjust on the fly. And then I have a homer pick here because he's been on my team so much over the last couple of years, and I'm going to go as one of my number 1 target is going to be Alvin Kamara. You can get him later in drafts. He's dropping in a lot of drafts. His ADP is I think in the mid 70s right now, or it's been as high as 50. But I think he rides once again. They gave him some extra money. There's no reason for him not to just try to get a couple more years and think about Hall of Fame and shit like that, or just putting himself up there in the all-timers. If he gets a lot of work, he catches the ball very effortlessly. They have new quarterbacks. They lost Derek Carr, so I think Alvin Kamara is one of my targets that you can get, that you can wait a little bit in the draft.
I like that. First ballot fantasy Hall of Famer, Alvin Kamara. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, so let's move on to wide receivers, or as my friend Anthony says, wide the thievers. We talked about this guy a little bit earlier, so I'm just going to jump right into it. Ladd McConkey he's got stud riddle all over him. He's got he's just a classic possession receiver, runs great routes. They already love him in San Diego. They're going to try to establish the run, obviously, and the mid routes and stuff are all his. So that's definitely somebody that I don't have a problem reaching for. Especially if you you got Jamar Chase and somehow Ladd McConkey fell to you and you went wide receiver, why the fuck not? So yeah, he's obviously a stud second-year wide receiver as well to take another step. Another second-year wide receiver that I absolutely would love to have is Malik Nabers, because I think that they're going to be throwing some darts. They're going to be throwing some moon balls. It's going to be a combination of quarterbacks. Whatever quarterback is in there, even Jameis, I would like to see with him. Whatever quarterback is in there is going to throw it to Malik Nabers. So
special guys, yeah.
I have no problem with a reach for Malik Nabers. I would want Malik Nabers ahead of Justin Jefferson because I'm fading Justin Jefferson this year. I would take Malik Nabers. I'm saying it, hot take. I would take Malik Nabers over Justin Jefferson this year. I'll put it on the board for Reid Bet if you want it. Justin Jefferson?
Why are you fading Justin Jefferson?
I just think that I'm just tired of taking him high and having him miss like 7 weeks. That's it. He's like one of the most talented people on earth, but I'm just tired of having him. I'm just tired of having him be hurt all year and stuff like that. And I would much rather, like I said, I'll make a bet right now. Malik Nabers has better fantasy numbers this year than Justin Jefferson.
I might take that bet.
Yeah.
I might take that bet. I like JJ McCarthy to fit that team. I like the Jordan Addison suspension here at the start of the season.
Lock it up. Burrito bet.
All right. Burrito.
One burrito. Okay, we got it. Fantasy burrito bet. All right. We already talked about Trey and Bowers. That's a tier up on themselves. Like I said, I say wait on QB. I say be careful of the overrated running backs. But if you wait on QB and you're careful of like the mid-tier dead zone running backs, then what does that allow you to do? Reach for your tight end. And I would fucking love my team if it had Trey McBride or Brock Bowers as my tight end. That is something that I want to happen on at least one of my fantasy teams. It won't happen on this league, obviously, because of this show. I've resigned myself to that. It will not happen in the Space Force League. Somebody will take one of them in the first round, is my prediction, at the turn. I would absolutely, in the Space Force League, take Trey or Bowers at the turn. If I had like the 9th or 10th pick.
I was gonna say, if you have like one of those end of your first round picks, 9 or 10, tight ends feeling safe.
Yeah. Something at the turn, I would definitely take him.
Okay.
But if you could reach for one of those two, that's fine. And then I'll give you another one because Trey and Bowers would be 2, 3, and 4. But the last one is Brian Thomas Jr. Just because of they were talking shit about him last year, like he's talented, but he's just a machine. He's a beast. That's another, those rookie wide receivers from last year taking a second step is something that I bet money on. I like rookie running backs, second-year wide receivers, pulling up and reaching for your tight end if you want a top tier, and fading quarterback and injury risk this year. That's the Burrito fantasy motto for 2025.
I do really, really like Brian Thomas Jr. with the Jaguars this year. I like taking the next step. He was impressive as hell last season already on his own. So I can definitely see him taking a step and being finishing as a top 5 fantasy wide receiver this year, maybe top 3.
Absolutely.
All right.
And then I'm gonna give you a speed round here, Reid. I'm gonna give you some my fade combos. I've already talked about some of these, so I'm fading in the first round. I'm fading Saquon and C-Mac. Saquon got his money and he had an unprecedented workload. They have a Super Bowl hangover. He's okay with not running the ball and chasing records. So if they're beating everybody by 30 points, what's he going to be doing? He's going to be sitting on the bench, relaxing. I do not like him as a number 3 pick. I would like him if I could get him at the end of the first round. But I do not like him as a first pick. Nobody in the Space Force should take him. Anyway, and Christian McCarthy is just too big of a risk. How many times am I going to take him first in the league and then him have missed the whole fucking season? He's coming back, but I think a regression for San Francisco is happening, and I don't think that they're going to be winning that many games myself. So I'm fading C-Mac. I'm fading Saquon. I would rather reach for somebody else that's out there, a CD Lamb, somebody else, Malik Nabers, get somebody else, skip those, and then get a rookie running back later. That's my move. Injured running backs, Breece Hall, Javonte Williams with Dallas. I don't believe in Dallas running backs anymore. And Breece Hall is angling for a contract, and there's 2 other rookie running back, Braylon Allen, that you can get like in the 10th round that might get just as big a workload according. Justin Fields does throw it to the running back a little bit. And I don't know. I don't know what the Jets' offense is going to be right now. So where you have to draft Breece Hall to get value out of him, he's already going to be gone. So I let somebody else in your league deal with it. Javonte Williams, stay away from. He's going to get dropped, and then maybe he'll be better later in the year. But you're going to waste a draft pick, I think, with him because the Cowboys are going to be a fucking mess.
Yes.
I'm going to fade DK and Debo just because I believe that they're both in kind of weird situations right now. They got their money, but Aaron Rodgers asked me about believing in Aaron Rodgers as my top quarterback last year, and what that got me with Garrett Wilson. So for some, I'm just fading both of them unless I can get them at really good value, like a round or two lower than where they go. Again, somebody will look at the name and say, ooh, and take them, and it'll be an up and down ride. Also, older wide receivers that are super good that are injured, Cooper Kupp and Devontae Adams. Fading both of them in new situations with new quarterbacks. Is Cooper Kupp incredibly talented and as a route runner? Yes. Is Devontae Adams one of the best wide receivers of all time? Yes. Do I want them on my fantasy league this year? Maybe, if they're like my number 3 wide receiver, but you got to draft them to be like your number 1 or your number 2 if you're lucky. And I don't want Cooper Kupp or Devontae Adams as my number 1 or number 2 wide receiver. This is not 2023 or 2022 where I would have killed for that. If you have Cooper Kupp or Kupp Adams and Devontae both of them in your starting wide receiver lineup, something went horribly wrong in your draft. And lastly, I'm fading Mark Andrews here. I'm tired of waiting. I'm tired of waiting for him to do something like he had one really great year, and then he took a shit. I almost had Kittle here with him, but I do think he's in that second tier, either by himself or with like Sam Laporta. That I think could have back-to-back. He could have a back-to-back year, but again, this goes against what I think is happening with San Francisco. So I'm a little bit up and down on him. But if you find yourself in a position in the in between the 3rd and the 7th round, and Mark Andrews is in front of you, don't.
Yeah, that's I can't really disagree with any of those. The only ones that I would go is probably that wide receiver combo of Cooper Kupp. I do agree with. I wouldn't. He's giving me a little bit of he's giving a little more advanced Adam Thielen with the Panthers kind of vibe there, and I know they'll probably try. That's my problem. I think they're going to try and rely on him a little too much as their wide receiver 1. They'll try to hope that Jackson Smith and Jigba can take that leap, but I don't like it there in Seattle. Devontae Adams, I would take a flyer. I'd take a flyer on him just because I can see Puka commanding that number 1 spot in LA. I trust the offense a little more. I trust McVay and Stafford a little more.
I don't know how I feel about Puka and Nakua.
Really?
I don't know. Maybe.
You're not really.
I wouldn't draft him. I'm fading Puka Nakua.
Fade him. Fade Puka. Fade Bijan.
Brock Bowers and Trey McBride. You don't want none of that on your team. No. Wait for your tight end. No, I'm giving you guys real advice to my own detriment. What the fuck do you guys think I do? But it's only because the only people that watch this are in my $50 league. My $200 league, they're too dumb to watch it. So that's true. Don't put them in here. They don't know. I even send them a click. I'm like, here, dumbasses. Here's my advice, and they just ignore it. Yeah. Because why would they? The real ones choose carefully. All those people, they're going to thrive. They're going to thrive on this. Thrive. Seeing is believing. Well, we got it on wax. We got it on. We have it. We can do the fantasy. When we do the breakdown, we got to add the fantasy. What I was right about, what I was wrong about segment for end of the year. We'll get on that with the look, people. You're gonna get full on fantasy burritos this year. We got plenty. We got plenty for you. Of course, Luis Martinez, the Big Chief Burrito. Thank you as always for being here. What have you got going on? What do you want to tell the people about? making a movie this weekend. Gonna knock the rust off. You can go on 2amburrito.net to find out about my movie making process, which is what I want to get back into. I'm a filmmaker at heart, but I haven't made a movie in a while, so we're doing a 48-hour film competition where we get to make a movie with 48 hours, but they won't tell me the genre or the prop or line of dialogue that we have to use until Friday night, and then we have to submit it by Sunday. So it's gonna be a busy weekend. So I'll be taking some time off. Other than that, tattooing, piercing, podcasting, hanging out, doing my thing. But, 2mburrito.net is the 2mburrito website. Watch Blacklisted on Amazon Prime. $2.99 to rent, $8.99 to own. And follow me at Big Chief Burrito across all social media.
Hell yes. Give it to him. Give it to him. Thank you so much for being here, my man. You'll be able to hear more of him and the Chunkla on our season preview show. We're getting so close. We're getting very close. So again, follow the 323 Network on YouTube. Subscribe to us wherever it is that you get podcasts, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you're doing. Go check us out there. We'll have our NFL season preview. Scott Elliott is going to be back very soon to give you his college football preview. So we're really excited about that. That's where Zoo is going to finally pick a college football team to root for based off of what Scott's given you. And maybe you can too. So, folks, thank you for being here. We will talk to you soon. And this has been a Top 5 Tuesday and the 323. Stay safe, folks.
On a Tuesday.
You want me to run wild over your misses? Just let me know.